Hey everyone, Anthony Fantano here, Internet's busiest music nerd. I hope you're doing well. And it's time for another Reviewing Your Music segment. We're taking our Twitch submissions live and going through them and picking them at random and seeing what talent the community has to offer. All of the musicians we talk about in this video are linked down below so you can check them out for yourself. And let's get to our first submission. But Wagner, Koop, anyone? Let's give this track a listen and see what it's got to offer.
Don't wanna talk to anyone. Don't wanna talk to anyone but you.
Just to say that I'm sorry. Nice. Thank you for the submission. All right. Well, you weren't lying. It was certainly a pop track, and you used a very tried and true sort of, synth and melodic progression on the track as well. I mean, while I do appreciate this song as its, own being its own entity, I did have sort of in my head as I was listening to it, we're gonna light it up like it's dynamite. It does feel like it would kind of fit in that realm. And not that I think that, that's a song that you'd probably think was trash or anything, and not that that's a bad song anyway. It's a fun song. It's an anthem. It's a pop anthem. But I liked the easygoing beat. Loved the vibe that you had going. It felt like kind of a blend of emo and just general pop and synth pop all coming together. The electronics felt really, really prominent. I wouldn't say it was like, necessarily like personally my vocal inflection. Was it like my vocal inflection preference? Not necessarily, but what the hell do I know? I enjoy listening to Richard Dawson over a prog instrumental. Hey, thank you for the big fat collection of subs. Greatly appreciated. Thank you. Appreciate it. But yes, Richard Dawson, singing over prog instrumentals, going, black lights lolling in the distance. Oh, So, again, this sort of like nasally, very overly emotive, emo style vocal inflection is it's something I'm very kind of picky with. But as far as like, being on key and hitting the notes you needed to hit, it sounded like, pretty much there. Thank you for the sub. Appreciate it as well. Hook was there. Progression of the track was certainly nice. The hits of synthesizer on the chorus came across really lush as well. I could be maybe a little too old at this point for these lyrics to really hit emotionally for me, as they did read as a little kind of dramatic and that sort of thing with the what is it, the text being about me? Hold on, I have to double check.
See and read that text.
Again, like not something that maybe gets me in my feelings, but I could see what you're going for, and I think it's like mostly done well. I think the I will say there is sort of like something about the vocals that do feel, and this could be intentional, do feel a little amateurish in comparison with the instrumental that feels like super professional. You know what I mean? Like very high grade, very glossy. But honestly, like I think that could be kind of an interesting combo, because you hear these vocals, this style of vocals and writing right now having a resurgence, especially in the rap field, especially in, the trap field. But it's not kind of coming back in sort of a pop and synth pop way. So it's not often I sort of hear these vocals and this kind of writing in this context. And I do have to admit, like, the instrumental is produced very well. The vocals are mixed pretty well. And the songwriting and the structure is like certainly there. Is it a track that like I'm going gaga for? Not necessarily, but it's not anything that I think I could really kind of nitpick too much from a technical standpoint, because I think overall it's produced and it's assembled really well. It sounds a professional grade for the most part. Surprised you don't have like, more people engaging with what you're doing here, but Wagner, Koop. All right, McFarlane has already verified their presence in chat. I imagine username is Gregor McMurray. Artist is Gregor McMurray. Pronouns he, him. Genre electronic. The song is Silktooth. Let's give it a listen. Sorry, I'm muted. Sorry, I got muted. Sorry. So yeah, that was insane. That was totally nuts. That was something. I'm not even really sure where to start or how to describe it. I'm just sort of wondering, like, what was the process of creating that? Like, was that something that through in the moment experimentation you sort of land on, or did you have the idea in your head already and then decided to, in my head I have, that was really good. It was really good. Like, it was mind bending. The sound play was incredible. Very textured, very fun. Lots of flavor, lots of everything. Like, Jesus Christ. Trying to find something to even compare it to. I mean, some of the deconstructed stuff out there right now is maybe a parallel. It felt pretty noisy and industrial at points too, but man, the vocal manipulations, at least they kind of felt like vocals, sounded incredible. The rushes of bass and distortion were exhilarating. My two most major issues, I think, honestly, were those sort of sputtering, like some of the bass that you throw underneath there feels like maybe a little dry, or maybe could feel a little bigger, like that, and the fact that it ends a little abruptly. You know what I mean? Like, I know the intro took up a good chunk of the track, but I don't feel like the intro was too long. I liked the intro a lot. I thought it was a great tension builder. I think just like structure, like make this bigger, make it, and I don't mean louder. I mean, it's like longer. I feel like at the point that it ended, I was just really left wanting more. I was desperate. I was thirsty. I was thirsty for this track. You foreplayed me. And then you just vanished into a bunch of like, this track felt like some really intense foreplay, and then all of a sudden it's just like, just sort of just vanishing into the darkness, and I was just left lonely after it was over. But like, man, like, again, the sound play incredible, the progression was great, just felt really aesthetically unique and bold and otherworldly. Frankly, it just felt not of this dimension, and just very imaginative. It just felt like I was getting a peek into a different plane of existence, or a realm or something, which I loved. It just felt like of another place. I just wish it went on a little bit longer, or at the point that you sort of started to make it kind of do its little vanishing act, build up from there into another passage. I think one more passage build or progression past that point, rather than kind of vanishing, in the last few moments of the track. Again, one more progression or sort of like build past that point would be enough. Would be quite more, or not quite more, but quite enough would be sufficient. I mean, while I think maybe even more than that would be great, I think, just another extra leg, another minute, would, sort of building through that time would be incredible. But that was really good. That was really impressive. Really imaginative. Gregor McMurray. And that track isn't even their most popular on here. Let me do a little more. I also felt a little bit of an Igloo Ghost vibe as well, which is quite good. Okay, McFarlane has found our next submitter here. Username is Cheesy Dude. Artist is Alexander. Robichaud. Pronouns are he and him. Genre is experimental folk pop. Thank you for the sub. Appreciate it. The song is Song for the Sky. Let's give it a listen. Okay. Thank you for submitting. I would say in terms of like overall vibe, it was certainly interesting. You know, the idea of doing almost like a bedroom or a lo-fi singer-songwriter type track and sort of combine that with almost like some droning noise and static and maybe field recordings and something like that. In a respect, like reminds me of Grouper, reminds me of, honestly, like a lot of, yeah, good point. John Frusciante solo vibes. You know, reminds me of quite a few different things, you know, especially from like the lo-fi indie scene from the 2000s. I guess like, you know, I guess I would have liked it to continue on or sort of advance in some sort of way. It felt like a phrase. It felt like a motif. It felt like, you know, I guess like a melodic and a theme, but it wasn't sort of like built upon in any way. It didn't really sort of like advance in any way. It felt almost like an interlude of sorts. You know what I mean? I did like sort of like the springy reverb, the overall aesthetics and vibe that came together. While I did like sort of that static and noise and woo synth transition that you went into, I think that, you know, maybe came out a bit too strong and smothered things too fast, you know, in terms of like the balance of, you know, the guitar and the vocals and everything else you were kind of throwing in. But I really just like would have liked more, you know, because there was certainly kind of a stillness and an eeriness. And while your vocals did come across really faint, there was something that, and it's difficult to put into words when a vocal is really subtle, but it feels so intimate and pulls you in, you know, which I definitely thought was the case for the vocal on this track. But I just think it could have used more progression, more something, you know, on the back end. Liked the combination of tracks, liked most of what I heard from the guitar and vocals. But I just think there should have or could have been more, you know, I just think there could have been more. The pacing was strong. I didn't really mind the pacing of the track either. It didn't feel like it was going nowhere for me. I actually kind of liked the stillness of it. You know, it felt like I was kind of on the edge of my seat waiting for a certain kind of drop or change or something, you know. But it just sort of felt like rather than that arriving, it just kind of like ended up fading, you know, pretty quickly, mind you, you know. So I don't know. I just would have liked to have to just heard more, you know. As far as like an array of sounds and musical ideas, it was cool. It just felt a little maybe abrupt or scant, you know. So that's all. Similar to early Rex Orange County. Yeah, possibly. I could see that connection for sure. But yeah, made me feel a little bonkers. Well, true, I agree with that. But I actually thought that quality about it was cool. There was kind of like a quiet insanity about it that I think, you know, made the stillness in the vibe that the track was bringing kind of, you know, strange and intense. It was almost like, you know, if David Lynch could direct a bedroom folk song in a way, you know, it felt like a bedroom folk singer-songwriter song directed by David Lynch. But I just wish it was longer and larger, you know, I guess is sort of my desire. I was hoping for, just wanting more. So is the word Aphex banned? No, that's not banned. You just said it. All right. I recorded this with Audacity. Anyone can achieve their dream. That's pretty cool for Audacity. Big respect for Audacity. And hey, Club Oro is in the chat. Shout out to Club Oro for being in the chat, coming through. Past, you could call them reviewing your music alumni, Club Oro. But yeah, it was a good track. Thank you very much for submitting. This has been another segment of reviewing your music. Thank you very much for watching. Over here next to my head is another video that you can check out. Check out the artists we talked about down below in the YouTube box. And we'll see you in the next one. Anthony Fantano, mwah, forever.